Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse, and you're watching the Patreon bonus stories.
And thank you for being our patrons. Let's jump right in because we got a lot of stories.
Okay. So when an EV catches fire, it seems like it's always headline news. Well, how about this news?
Hyundai and Kia tell owners of nearly 500,000 vehicles to park outside due to risk of fire. Now, you might be thinking, I didn't know Kia and Hyundai made that many EVs. Nope, we're not talking about their electric models. We're talking about their ICE, or internal combustion engine models. Due to foreign contaminants, the anti-lock brake computer control module can short circuit and possibly start a fire in the engine compartment.
So far, 3 vehicles have caught on fire, and dealers say that they will inspect the vehicle's anti-lock braking control module. It is a small computer system that controls the vehicle's emergency anti-lock brake system and may replace it with a new one.
Dealers will also replace a fuse that controls the electric current to the anti-lock braking control unit at no cost to owners. The new fuse will reduce the amount of power going into this module.
That sounds great.
Well, first of all, that's not true. Okay, that's not how fuses work. They will reduce the amount of power that could surge and go into that before it blows the fuse. Basically, what we're reading, if you read between the lines, some kind of circuitry in that anti-lock braking control module can overheat some component, I'm guessing, and cause it to melt and cause a fire. And so this fuse, I guess, is going to blow before that happens, which means you're probably going to be bringing your Kia and your Hyundai into the shop a lot to get that fuse replaced when your anti-lock braking doesn't work.
No, you're not going to be bringing it into the shop. You're going to be bringing it to the junkyard because if the anti-lock brake system is going, oh no, we need to stop the car. Then I think you're going to crash your car. That's just what I think is going to happen.
Funny how 500,000 cars with the problem of potentially fire.
Yeah.
Is this like something that you heard about? Yes, I know it was on CNN, but it was only on one of their CNN lower streams. It was like their automotive stream.
Yeah.
It's not something that like most people are talking about. And why is that? Well, because Kia and Hyundai spend a lot of money on advertising, and I'll bet that it's like
a couple phone calls get made. Couple phone calls go, okay, yeah, we know that there's this story coming out. You see, like, here's the thing that always bugs me. You see this happen on pretty much any TV show where there's like people in power, you know, they always have that little guy who comes in and he goes, sir, there's a problem with the thing. And they go, oh, what is it? And, oh, well, this thing, well, go call the Times and make sure they don't run with that story. Like that always happens. I'm thinking of The Crown. So of course that's what they do. And then they're like, well, make sure that it happens the next day or we're going to come up with another story and that's going to prevent that from being a big news story. So I definitely think that some, like, people always tell me, like, no, they wouldn't talk. They wouldn't call people.
You know, I was listening to BBC the other night. It was like off hours BBC. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you have one of those jobs where you're working kind of off hours and you get a broadcast, because BBC is 6 hours different from my time, and I was listening at a weird time for them. So you get like their B players. When they're doing the news, they don't know what the they're saying. They're just reading it off a thing.
Which is not different from the American news.
No, not at all. It's just they're not as good at it. So when they're reading it, they don't even know where to put the inflections.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're just copy readers. They're just, they might as well be robots. And Jesse and I, we write what's in front of you. Like we read and think and research, then we write what's in front of you. Now, it may not be a great story. You may not like our writing, but at least we wrote it, okay? We're independent. Other news channels, they go, read this. And you go, hello, today in the news, blah, 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 blah. That means that you're taking the authority of the person talking to you that you've watched for years and you think, well, I trust this person. But they're just reading, it could just say whatever the hell. They don't care.
Right.
They never correct it. They don't even know what they're talking about. And when I listened to this broadcast the other night, it was so apparent because they were screwing up. Like I've been doing this for 7 years, right? So I really have a behind the scenes understanding of it. They were just trying to hit their marks of like, okay, this is 30 seconds. Let's be on, move to the next thing. Here's the chit chat portion. It just made you realize the media is just a bunch of bullshit. Okay. Because you don't know who wrote it. Look, when you read a book, you know the author's name.
Right.
You know, the books I hate is when it's like, I'm a famous person and I didn't write this book. I had a ghostwriter. I'm like, I don't want to read that book because I don't know who wrote it. Right. It was a ghostwriter.
Right.
At least with a book, you have a writer. And at least with, let's say, a New York Times article, you have a correspondent's name behind it. I'm not saying it's good writing or good journalism, but at least you have a name. When you're listening to like the radio or a lot of these TV stories or internet stories, there's not even a name associated with it. And you just lose all faith. And to this point with the Hyundai story, I don't know. I think this is a freaking big deal. 500,000 cars that could catch fire, and yet nothing. But if a Bolt catches fire, if a Tesla catches fire, we're going to replay that video over and over again until we lock it into your head that that's dangerous. These cars have gas tanks.
Right.
If they catch on fire, they can blow up.
Right.
And many do. It's not a rare occurrence.
Right.
And yet, just sweep that story under the rug.
Right. Yep.
All right. Let's go to some Super Bowl ads. I hope you guys had a fun Sunday and watched your Super Bowl. Let's watch this one from GM.
Ladies and gentlemen, our takeover of General Motors is complete.
Dr. Evil, we can now use GM's Ultium platform to power our whole operation.
Now we can reduce tailpipe emissions.
I'm sorry, am I no longer Dr. Evil? I'm Dr. Good now? I didn't get the meme.
Climate change is arguably the #1 threat to the world now.
Dr. Evil, you are now the #2 threat to the world.
I refuse to be number two.
We have to help the planet.
Oh, please, cheer.
For my son.
Your son? I shall name him Baby Me.
No, his name is Kyle.
You must help save the world first.
Then you can take over that world.
Okay, Frau, how about you let me do the business, all right? Hold on, I've got it. I will help save the world first, then take over the world.
She literally just said that.
Scott, you just don't get it, do you?
What? What don't I get?
You don't get it.
Oh, we're right back.
And you're never gonna get it.
You can't draw me into these little...
You don't get it.
You act like a child.
Here it is. You don't
I
get
am
it.
an adult. You can't push my buttons anymore.
We'll reduce our carbon footprint.
Whatever. Okay, let's go. We're going all electric.
Everybody in!
Not you, Scott. One day you're gonna run the company, Baby Me.
Okay. So I want you to remember this theme. We take basically a movie that hasn't been out since the late 90s there. I guess there was a reboot in 2003 or something, but we're talking 20 years ago. Who are they appealing to?
People who were alive when those movies came out and that you watched
Me.
in the movie theaters.
They're not appealing to you. They're appealing to me.
I mean, I've watched Austin Powers.
I know, but honestly, like most people in your generation are probably don't even know who he is other than a meme.
Right.
Now, funny that at the end of the ad, it says 30 EVs globally by 2025. They sold 26 last quarter. I mean, they set themselves up for that joke. Like, come on.
Yeah.
All right, so that was fun. Let's move on to BMW's Super Bowl ad. So just to point out, let's play the ad first.
My fellow gods, the dark skies have spoken.
It is time for Susan and I to retire.
But where will you go?
Zeus! Sorry, Zeus! I need a charge on this. Oh! Thanks!
Sweetheart, it's not rocket science. I'm heading out. Don't forget to take Becky for a walk. Mwah!
Yo, Zeus! A little juice! That's it. I'm done with this place.
We'll see about that. Everything okay out there, baby?
Hey!
Little Peggy, a little walk, huh?
I figure you could use a little pick-me-up.
All electric?
All electric.
The BMW iX. Electricity in its ultimate form.
Electric
Avenue.
And we take it higher.
BMW, the ultimate electric driving machine.
I kind of liked it. I didn't get it, but I liked it.
Right, because again, this goes back to what is the point of these ads? They have to distract you from the car. Did you see much of the cars in the GM ad or the BMW ad? No, that's on purpose. They don't want you to compare the electric models to the ICE models. They just want you to focus on, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Interesting to note, GM's ad got 300,000 views. BMW's ad got 6 million views. I don't know if that's because of the stars they picked. I don't know if it's just better marketing, but that's to me like, whoa. They're both released at almost the same time.
Because you had the little horse dog.
Oh, is it the horse dog thing?
Pegasus?
That's what
Peggy.
did it.
I think so. It was so nice. I got to watch the Super Bowl, and first of all, neither of the two teams I've ever cared about. Also, Tom Brady's not on the football. What? Whatever. I'm sorry. As a New Englander, I didn't ever care about football, so you don't have to be mad at me.
They're going to be mad at you.
I got to go to watch, basically people's reaction because I was at a Super Bowl party, and all these ads coming on, and they're like, "Oh, no, electric one, huh? Oh, weird." I don't know. I don't know why they did this. I don't know why these car companies decided to do these ads for the Super Bowl. Why did they do the electric versions?
Because they are all forced to go in the stream of electric, and they all see that their competitors are doing it, and you know how they all have to follow the same, that they're a bunch of sheep, so they have to go, oh shoot,
right,
GM's doing one, we are doing one.
Because so last week we did the dog one, the Kia EV6, and very popular with the ladies in the room. They like the cute electric dog. How do they make a robot dog cute? Because it's CGI and they have a lot of money.
But can you see the theme here? Again, aging stars that appeal to my age group, not yours. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger is not really your demographic. It's mine. They're appealing to older white men, basically. And just something to keep in mind here. BMW is only committed to being 50% electric by 2030, which means, if you follow our conjectures at all in the show, that's the end of them. But the iX that they showed there, that's an $84,000 starting price SUV. If you had a choice between an $84,000 BMW iX and, let's say, the Tesla Model Y for $30,000 less, like, no brainer.
Right.
All right, let's go to a third Super Bowl ad. This is Polestar's new Super Bowl ad. Check it out. All right, so Sawyer Merritt said Volvo just aired their EV ad, which they paid $7 million to have played during the Super Bowl. Bold strategy to take digs at Elon Musk, VW, and the rest of the legacy auto market. Laugh out loud. Elon did laugh out loud. Shibatoshi Nakamoto said, no one cares. And I thought this was a waste of money myself. It's, to me, just free advertising for Tesla, because you're basically, come on, read between the lines. You're saying Tesla is the leader we're going after here because you put the stupid Mars thing in there. Why are you picking? First of all, Tesla doesn't go to Mars. SpaceX does. So you're picking on the guy. And also, you can say whatever you want about your car. You can make your car as amazing as possible. I have nothing bad to say about the Polestar 2 because I have not driven it. What I have to say is go watch our video on In Depth about the supercharger network. That is what you have to fight against if you want to beat Tesla.
You want to make your own, and it just says no superchargers.
Exactly. Until you have a network.
Right.
I'm sorry, Polestar 2, you're going to have to drive on Ionity, Electrify America, and all the rest, which are subpar. So it's almost like if your cars had to ride on a different road, like on dirt roads as opposed to paved roads. Like, you're not getting it.
Right. Another ad, completely out of the blue to me. Salesforce came out with an ad with Matthew McConaughey in it. He's looks like he's an astronaut or whatever, and it looks like he's in space. He's actually on a hot air balloon, and then he's like, "We don't need to go to Mars or anything like that. I'm for Team Earth." That was their sales pitch. Was like hashtag Team Earth for Salesforce.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that all their it was just like, why are all these companies picking on Elon?
All of these marketing people get together in a room and they're like, okay, who's the enemy? Elon, Tesla, right? Okay, what do we got? And they make a board, like their little dream board thing, where they pick on, okay, so what does he represent? Right. And Mars comes up a lot. And they go, oh, great. most Americans have never been to Mars, so that's good. Mars is, for rich billionaires now,
Right.
because, Jeff Bezos is going to space too. So this is awesome. We can differentiate our companies which aren't trying to do anything, and this guy who's trying to get to Mars and waste all our money. And they think that's a winning strategy for them. This is why when we talked about the SpaceX presentation, why I was so critical of Elon. I'm even more critical than I let on during Tesla Time News, because I love Elon to death. I love that. I was inspired like you were, but I tried to put on my different lenses when I watched that. I tried to put on the lens of the average Joe Schmo. And what I saw was, I don't really get it. And that pissed me off so much, because I knew that if you did somehow inspire that average person like Kennedy did, you would change history. If you could get enough people to go, oh my gosh, I see your vision, they will go with you. Just like they followed Kennedy, even after he was killed, they kept going. They didn't go, oh, he's dead now, so forget going to the moon. They kept going, hey, you know what? We're going to the moon. And we didn't know how to go to the moon. We didn't know anything about it. And we did it.
Then. It was extraordinarily hard back then.
And that set America up for success for decades after, because we're just like, yeah, we went to the moon. Right. Take that, Russia.
And an attitude like that, I'm not saying that it's maybe the most flattering attitude to have, like, we went to the moon, damn it. It does, Zach and I talk all the time about like what makes a person successful. Attitude is one of the things, exactly. not everything, but it is an important factor.
A huge component.
Being able to say, like, I know that we can go do this thing is a very positive thing, and it generally gets you pretty far.
It told the whole society after we made it to the moon, hey, look, what can happen if we all pull together?
Hard things are possible. We
changed our educational system. We did the impossible.
Right.
What else can we do?
Right.
And then I guess we kind of lost that,
right,
because our leaders were like, well, we did it. Let's take
some cocaine and make some money. These taking shots at Elon are great. It's really honestly,
it'll come back to bite them.
It'll come back to bite them because they don't have anything. And I think that it was really interesting watching at the Super Bowl, because one of my friends is going to get a Tesla pretty soon. And his friend that he works with was just like, hey, when's your car coming, dude? Like, oh, good one.
That's all they got.
That's all they got.
And
so as soon as he has his car, the story will completely change. It'll be like, oh, you got your car after having to wait a little while? Okay. And it's way better than any car anyone has ever driven at this company. Like, yeah.
I mean, if I was Tesla's head of marketing and they let me actually have a budget, it would be like, Tesla, worth the wait.
and that's what I'm saying is once that person experiences a Tesla and goes, oh, maybe I could actually afford this. Because I think that's another thing, is that like people are just going to go, like, that's for rich people. Yeah, they're a little expensive if you want to get the long range, but if you want to get the standard range plus, which I would argue is better than most budget EVs, is in the rough approximate price range.
Yeah, I mean, you got yours for $35,000.
Right. I mean, that was with my tax incentive. Thank you very much, federal government and state of Massachusetts. Right. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that all these shots at Tesla are going to be looking pretty
short-lived.
All
right, let's move on to Tesla's heat pump problem. So you remember about a year ago, Tesla had a problem with their heat pumps, especially Canadians were pointing it out and so forth. And then they fixed it with an over-the-air update. So what's gone on?
Last Wednesday, NHTSA announced a Tesla recall of 26,681 vehicles after a software update resulted in the heat pump not working to defrost windshields of about 1% of Tesla cars.
So Tesla says this in the NHTSA filing. In vehicles built with the heat pump, the electronic expansion valve, or EXV, may experience controller communication interruptions, after which the EXV driver may attempt to realign the EXV rotor by rotating it in a small increment toward the open direction. When the heat pump vehicle's operating firmware release 2021.44 through blah, 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 experience such interruptions, the vehicle software does not close the valve, and the accumulation of interruptions and subsequent realignments over extended periods where the vehicle is awake may result in an unintended valve opening event. This in turn may trap refrigerant inside the evaporator and may deplete the refrigerant from the active components in the system. The depletion may result in fail-safe compressor stoppage and cause loss of cabin heating, particularly in temperatures minus 10 Celsius or colder. While the windshield defrost system continues to operate with the condition present, defrost performance may not comply with FMVSS 103.
Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standard.
Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah.
Firmware release 2021.44.30.7 and later releases remedy the condition by reintroducing a software command to close the EXV, thereby preventing refrigerant from entering the evaporator. No further action is necessary from owners whose vehicles are equipped with firmware releases, blah, 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 says Tesla. So Tesla says it will have an over-the-air software update to fix this issue around April 1st. Problem is, that may be a little too late for this winter season. The good news is that, yeah, they figured out that it's something you can fix with software. And this is such a huge thing because most other auto manufacturers would have to have you bring that car into the dealer, rip that unit out, replace that unit, or
even if it was a software
they'd either not know how to do it, or they'd have to maybe do the flash at the dealership, which means thousands of cars having to come into the dealer,
and they'd have to get to that component. Right. With the Tesla, that's
a good point.
Everything is all connected. With most cars, you have a chip somewhere, and maybe you can rewrite the firmware or something like that. But you need to get to the chip. You need to have the right prongs to put on the leads to send it the signals. And most of the time, a dealer isn't going to have that thing.
And let me point out some little subtle thing you may not pick up on. If this were a normal car like a Subaru or a Toyota, there would be a cost involved in going back to the dealer and having the tech spend an hour tearing parts of the car apart, getting in there, doing this fix. Let's say it would take an hour. So then they're going to charge Toyota or Subaru, whatever, $150. That means that when Subaru or Toyota is sitting down to figure out what to do about this problem, they're going to come up with the formula and go, oh crap, this is going to cost us millions of dollars. Therefore, what are they going to do? A lot of times, they're going to try and do it like GM did with the battery. They're going to, in the beginning, be like, let's try and push this off to another quarter, or let's not fix it, or whatever. With Tesla, they'll just go, okay, well, we'll send an over-the-air update. I mean, yeah, it costs some computer software programmer time, but it's not a big deal. There's no dealers that are going to be mad. There's no checks. There's no paperwork that has to be dealt with. This is so different than the other car companies. It is such a cost savings for Tesla, and it means that Tesla can take risks. Other car companies, to be honest and to be fair, have to take, let's say, a heat pump that they've thoroughly tested for 6 years, and this definitely works, before they put it in a car. Tesla can say, we just developed a new one, put it in all the new cars starting today. Oh, but sir, what if there's a problem? Don't worry, we'll fix it with an over-the-air update. That means you're getting the latest tech. Now, yes, this wasn't fully tested in every possibility. And for that, I do have problems with Tesla. I think their engineers don't know what cold weather feels like. I think you should take your engineers and the first few weeks of work, you should ship them to the coldest place on earth and have them live in the cold and experience cold cars, wet cars that freeze, snow, slush, ice. I was driving Sparky the other night, and we had just kind of a slushy mix, and it coated the front of the car with like half an inch of ice so that none of my forward sensors like the radar worked. And so couldn't autopilot, even when the roads had been cleared.
You have an older version.
I have an older version of
still
Tesla.
Has radar,
right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I could fix this in about a day if they put a little heater strip that would just melt that off. In an ice car, those cars warm up and everything melts.
Everything's hot.
Everything's hot.
Right.
On a Tesla, the whole front end of the car is cold.
Right.
And so do these engineers not understand that there's slushy places on the earth? No, I guess they don't. And that is the problem. It's not that they're not smart people. It's that they don't live in cold climates.
Right.
And just put a couple cold climate engineers on your team so that they go, guys, we need to make sure that problem doesn't happen. But they didn't. And here, again, you just made a lot of Canadians and, New Englanders and, whatever, upset because it's like, guys, you didn't think of this?
And even if they do solve the problem, and I think that they will, these ideas are very sticky. And so they're going to stick in people's consciousness and ideas. They're going to, I heard that those cars, they don't warm up. I heard, I heard this isn't going to work. And it's going to be fixed. Everyone driving a Tesla around them is going to be fine.
I mean, I want to give you an example, and this is a kudos to Tesla. My 2016 Model X is different now in the snow than it used to be. For instance, it used to be really hard to open the door on a cold day. if there was any ice at all, the door just wouldn't open. Now, through magic of software, they've told the motors to do something else. So like now the window does some kind of like little before it opens, and it works a lot. It even in a snowy day. They made something different about the door handle. When I hit it, I used to have to like hair dryer it and do all this stuff. Now you just kind of tap it and it works. Software did that. That's amazing.
Right.
So kudos. But why couldn't out the door you have thought about that, since conditions haven't changed? All right, let's move on to this story. It's called A Rare Glimpse of Elon. In a recent court case, we get to see a rare glimpse into the personal side of Elon.
This court case is a wrongful death case where the plaintiff was trying to get the judge to call Elon to testify.
To do that, this lawyer has brought in emails between Elon and James Riley, whose son Barrett, and a passenger, died when Barrett was driving his father's Model S back in May 8th of 2018. He lost control while going 116 miles an hour and crashed into a Fort Lauderdale home. James Riley then brought a wrongful death lawsuit against Tesla.
James Riley and Elon exchanged emails, according to this Bloomberg article, where Elon said there's nothing worse than losing a child. Riley responded by saying that he would like to talk, but that he and his wife weren't quite ready yet. Musk then responded, "I understand. My firstborn son died in my arms. I felt his last heartbeat."
And this is in reference to Elon's son, Nevada Alexander Musk, who passed away at just 10 weeks old. So in June of 2018, Elon had Tesla offer a speed limiter in an over-the-air update where you need a 4-digit PIN to basically get rid of the speed limiter. Elon told James days before the software update, "Tesla is doing everything we can to improve safety. My friends, family, and I all drive Teslas, and even if they didn't, I would still do everything I could." James Riley's wrongful death lawsuit claims that a Tesla service center removed the speed limiter and allowed his son to speed. Tesla says Barrett, the son, came to the service center and asked for it to be removed when he picked up the car. So this story has two sides to it. One is we do get to see this rare glimpse of Elon. We get to see that he was willing to share this information about, his son dying, and that he really did care about what happened to James's son. The other side we get to see here is that the wrongful death lawsuit, and there's lots of them against every car company, states that his son was driving 116 miles an hour in a residential neighborhood, and that he's holding Tesla accountable because he had put a speed limiter on the car, and you could only put a speed limit, by the way, I think down to
about 50.
50.
Yeah.
And that, it was taken away by Tesla. Tesla's saying, your son came to pick up the car. He's considered an owner. You allowed him to come pick up the car with the key. And he asked us to do this, so we did it for him. And then he drove the car too fast and died. Well, he drove 116 miles an hour in a residential neighborhood. I mean, I could take this mug right now and smash you over the head with it. I don't think I would win the lawsuit when I sue the mug company and say, you built a really heavy mug. I mean, that's just...
Right.
And so
many cars are capable of going 116 miles an hour.
And I think the problem here is, yeah, exactly. Every car you can get up to 116 miles an hour. I think the problem here is we have this system in the United States and many countries in the world where you can sue for pretty much any reason and there's no repercussions. I mean, I can sue you, and then if I lose, it was my time and my, lawyer's court costs. But if I don't win the millions of dollars, I just move on and I sue someone else for millions of dollars. If you sue enough people enough times, you'll win. And that's what lawyers know. They know that if they take enough of these cases against a deep-pocketed company like a Tesla, they'll either get a settlement, which they do oftentimes, or they'll win. And if they don't, it was just part of the cost. And meanwhile, what does this do? Well, you're seeing kind of the back end of this. If this judge decides to allow Elon to testify in this other wrongful death lawsuit, then we're going to tie up Elon's time. We saw this before recently where Elon had to go to court for 2 days and testify. And I mean, why?
Right. He wasn't at the service center.
Right.
And it's just like, and anyone, I don't know.
Well, I mean, what other car do you know of that has a speed limiter that you can put on it? So basically Tesla offers this thing, and because they've gone above and beyond and are trying to make their cars safer, you can now hold it against them when it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to. Why did you let your son drive the car if you knew he was going to speed? So you knew he was going to speed.
And I mean, the service center, of course, needs to be able to remove this because, of course, people are going to forget their PINs.
Exactly.
And so, of course, I'm going to bring it to the service center one day and go, yeah, I need to get rid of the speed limiter.
This wasn't a fail-safe feature. This was a nice thing to offer.
I mean, maybe they need to rethink it, but I don't think legally they need to rethink it. I think that maybe they need to rethink it in terms of like who put the pin on. Maybe then, but again, now we're getting into so many different things, and it's just like that's not the point. You shouldn't be. I mean, if you really can't trust someone to drive your car
exactly
below 100 miles an hour, and so much so that you have to put a speed limiter on the thing. Like, I understand if it's like your friend, or especially the valet mode, that's really smart. You know, your valet isn't going to go take it to Tesla service and, you know, with the red jacket on, say, hey, could you get rid of the... Of course, that's not going to work.
Right.
But to have someone in your life who you can't trust with the car to drive it safely...
Why'd you have him go pick it up?
I'm sorry, you should work on that and not... I don't know.
And it just shows that a lot of these lawsuits are relying on the fact that you'll settle, right? It's cheaper for a company to just settle. In fact, with big drug companies, a lot of times the big news thing will be, pharma company settles for $1 billion. And you think like, oh my God, the stock will go down. No, the stock goes up because shareholders like, oh, good, we know what the number is. With these companies, a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, just throw $100,000 at the guy, make him go away. Tesla doesn't do that. I don't know of a case where Tesla has settled that. Well, there's been a couple settlements, but none of these kind of wrongful death like settlements. I think that they basically say like, we're going to go all the way because we know we're going to win. And I mean, that's just Elon's principle. I don't know if the lawyers understand that yet. If like in, Lawyers Monthly, if they have a list of companies that don't settle and they're like, yeah, don't go after Tesla because they just don't settle. I hope that that reputation is out there because these lawsuits, man, like lawsuits are great when there's something that you should sue over. But when they just tie up the courts so that now the courts can't do anything and these take years and they're just lawyers' fees, that's not what this should be doing.
Right.
All right, let's go to Buttigieg here. So remember we did the petition on change.org. Well, I guess it worked.
You know, we just played that clip from President Biden actually giving a shout out to Tesla, but that has been something that's been missing for quite a while. Tesla hasn't been invited to these White House meetings, and Elon Musk isn't really somebody who's been heralded. And the reporting has said that, this is happening because the administration doesn't like Tesla because they're seen as anti-union. Made in America, does that mean union only? Or made in America, is it good as long as it's providing good jobs for people here in this country?
Look, as you know, the president strongly believes in every worker having the free choice to join a union. We believe in good paying jobs, and we believe that unions built the middle class. We also admire the range of American companies that have innovated, including Tesla, which did so much to make EVs possible in America. Now it's mainstream. Earlier on, at a time, by the way, of course, when U.S. policy with tax credits was supporting companies like Tesla, that wasn't viewed as such a sure bet. Now we see some of the most iconic, some would have said old school names in auto manufacturing out of Detroit, right there alongside companies out of Silicon Valley, all of them in very different ways, helping move America toward this goal. We need to make sure that we have all of the different parts of American industry and of the American workforce attuned to this goal, because this is the future. Again, there's no question whether autos are headed electric. The question is, will we get there in time? Will it be made in America? And will it be done in a way that all Americans can benefit, that Americans can afford these vehicles and capture those savings, those gas and diesel savings that you have when you're filling up with electrons instead of gas and diesel?
That's a really good point. If you want this to be affordable to everybody, why is it set up in tax credits as this way? Because to qualify for the full $7,500 tax credit, you need to have at least $10,000 in taxes that you owe. If you look at the demographic for who buys these things, in 2019, the top category was white men who earn at least $100,000, have a college degree. I mean, it's not mass market at this point, and the way the credits have been set up aren't necessarily designed to make it so.
And that's exactly why we've proposed a new model going forward. This is in the president's Build Back Better proposal to Congress. The idea is to make sure that we buy down that sticker cost so that everybody can capture the savings. Look, there's a lot of interesting coverage, even just this month, about when we see parity. In other words, when we see the moment when an EV is cheaper to buy and own than a regular internal combustion engine vehicle. By some accounts, on some vehicles, that's already true, but not in terms of the sticker price. It's only if you have the total cost of ownership factored in and those tax credits. So we can redesign the tax credits in a smarter way, and that's part of what we've put forward.
Build
You look
Back
at
Better's dead,
these
though.
pickup.
Senator Manchin's not going to support it. Is this going to survive in some way? Is this going to be carved out?
Look, there are so many policies in the president's Build Back Better vision. I can't say what name they're going to go by or what package they're going to move in. I can't say that they're good policies that deserve to happen and move forward. And I can also say that whatever happens with Build Back Better, we are already working with the historic bipartisan infrastructure law that did pass, that did get signed, and that, among other things, is calling on my department and the Department of Energy to team up, as we're doing, to prepare $7.5 billion in support for states that are going to come in with their plans on building out those EV charging networks that are such an important part of this. And look, EV chargers, it's going to be a little different than what we're used to with gas stations. In some ways, it's easier because you can have them at residences and workplaces. In other ways, it's harder because there are different amounts of time associated with different kinds of chargers. This is going to be a huge part of the story of American transportation, even just in the next 5 years. And I'm not sure folks realize what a big revolution this is. It's one of the reasons yesterday's announcement about those chargers themselves being manufactured here in the United States is such good news.
Can I just say, quite obvious to me that Buttigieg is going to run for president probably next election cycle, but if not, at least the one after that. They're totally grooming him for a presidential run again. I dislike the guy. He is so political speak where he just spoke for 3 minutes and I don't know what he said. I actually think it was an interesting, this is like a 1984 moment for me. In the book, if you read it or remember, we're at war with Oceania. And then 2 days later, we have never been at war with Oceania. They've always been our allies. Same thing here. CNBC gets to pretend that they've always been a fan of Tesla and a fan of EVs. And he gets to pretend, Buttigieg gets to pretend that he's always been a fan of, like, you're all full of You all thought that you could just keep going the way you were going. And then now that you have to, you pivot and pretend, you just rewrite history. You don't admit anything. You don't say, yeah, we were wrong. You just pretend, of course, well, we've always, EV's great. Tesla's great. But what's really great are all these other iconic companies that are now going to lead the chart. It's like, you, dude. Okay. You. You can go to hell.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. This whole pandering to unions thing, first of all, it shows that the petition worked. Because at the beginning,
exactly,
I like,
and why did it work?
Well, so first, right at the beginning, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, petition, what's that gonna do? Like, who am I gonna present the petition to?" I guess and I'm learning. Obviously, I don't know everything. A petition basically goes and says all these people agree on one thing. And you then look at that number and you go, I'm guessing if you're the political wonks who do all the calculations and be like, well, we should try and get the unions and the rural people to vote for whatever, and I think we could win if we just keep plugging the unions. They take this information and they go, oh, well, now we can calculate this.
Yes,
we didn't understand that people like Tesla.
There was a key word, you haven't said it yet: numbers.
Yes, numbers.
A petition puts numbers onto an issue. It quantifies. You can have a lot of angry people, but until you can see the crowd, until you can count the numbers, people don't care. This petition allowed people to go, ooh, fast-growing petition, numbers. Oh, okay, we got to count this into the calculus.
And it doesn't look good because they've made, arguably, in my opinion, a really embarrassing choice.
Exactly.
A really politically stupid, just dumb, really petty and stupid decision to intentionally not invite Elon or Tesla to any of these things, not to mention them for so long.
Well, here's the thing.
It was an embarrassment.
Here's how you could have flipped it. Biden and Buttigieg. You could have invited Elon and Tesla into a task force, a committee, whatever you want to call it, on electrifying America, and you could have had them on the committee to give you advice on how to do it. But no, you're going to pretend they don't even exist, and you're going to do it yourself. And as we reported on Tesla Time News, the way they're going to do it is largely bullshit. They're going to put in a bunch of low-number charger stalls throughout America, which will be completely full or broken.
And they're going to demand that the states basically come up with these plans.
They say up to 150 kilowatts, which sounds fine, except up to is a term that
That could be
basically gets
one.
you out. Exactly. It gets you out of any. It could be all of our chargers are up to 150 kilowatts. So that means that some of them could be level 2. And this
Some
is
of them could be level 1.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
found a bunch of outlets at this strip mall and over there at that rest stop, and we put little signs above them that you can't read that are too small, and I'd like to take my $5 billion, please.
All right, let's move on to this story. It was bound to happen sooner or later. We have footage from County News TV of a Rivian R1T that smashed into a pole last Wednesday night in Irvine, California.
Now, it looks like the driver walked away completely unharmed. It seems that there were some flames, but it didn't look like it took much water to put it out. And by the time the cameras got there, the flames were already put out.
Yeah, it says a lot about not having a heavy ice engine up front. I mean, I've got to imagine that the people at Rivian are pretty happy to see that what looks like a high-speed crash into a pole. I mean, this is like a nightmare kind of crash. Mm-hmm. The driver, I think that's the driver, seems to have walked away completely unharmed. Like, I don't see any blood. I don't see any like limping. And that's just what you want to see. A big crumple zone. All the airbags seem to have gone off. And that must have been, like I said, a high speed crash.
Right. Now we're going to conjecture for a minute. I mean, Irvine is one of Rivian's headquarters cities. So this could have been an employee.
I think it had to have been. I mean, all of the first trucks going out went to employees. Mm-hmm. And so this did not have a manufacturer's plate on it. So my guess is that this is an early actual owner, and most of those owners were employees. So yeah, this is very likely an employee.
So, I mean, I think that a lot of places might want to pick this up as a negative story. I do. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from the perspective of a crash test, I mean, we haven't seen the Rivians in crash tests yet. So this is a good little example. Of course, we don't get the slow-mo with the interior camera or anything like that, but the results do speak for themselves. I mean,
a light is still working. I mean, so part of the electrical system's still working. There was some flame, obviously, you can see on the door. Mm-hmm. But yeah, by the amount of water, like if that thing was taking hours to put out.
By the amount of burn.
Right.
You can quite obviously
the video is titled Rivian R1T ignites in flames. Well, there's a lot of accidents where there's going to be flames.
I've seen Tesla cars that have burned, and you have a burnt out husk at the end. So I am fairly impressed with the Rivian there. It definitely looks like driver error.
Yeah, unless the pole moved. Pole seen moving around town. Right. Now, Jesse, speaking of trucks, you want the Cybertruck to be a boat. Mm-hmm. And even if Tesla doesn't deliver that feature, I still think you might be able to make our Cybertruck into a boat.
No, I knew I could do that.
No, not you. Meet Cybercat.
Okay. Interesting. So wait, what?
So it gets its name, I think, from catamaran.
Okay.
So if you put these pontoons on the truck, there's no sail involved here. There's actually motors. Okay. And depending on what speed you want the car to go and how many motors, that'll determine the price. But the price appears to be $22,900 to $32,900, depending on the number of 50 kilowatt motors selected. You get basically 1 to 5 motors. So I guess my first question to you is, does this look like something you'd be interested in doing with your truck? Look, you're already grimacing. I guess no. Look at it, like going up out of the water.
I know it's cool. Hydrofoil. It's neat.
335 horsepower.
This isn't what I wanted. When
range of 115 miles.
When I said, look, because you could just do this to any car, right?
I guess. I've never seen this before.
Sure. Because
have you seen some of these pictures? Look at the fishing. The all of them lined up at a dock, the camping on the water. Isn't this what you want to do?
I wanted the Cybertruck itself. I don't want to have to carry with me. I don't want to have to. Where do I keep this catamaran thing?
At your cabin.
How do I?
I don't know.
I get it
in the back of the truck? Will this fit in the back of the truck?
I wanted to take my truck. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to steer it at the water. Okay, like that episode of The Office. Mm-hmm. Drive into the water and just keep going. I wanted it to be a duck boat.
So anyway, this is one of those things that, it's just all CGI. The company kind of knows that. They said in their FAQs, like, we know it's CGI, but we're trying to figure out if there's a demand for this. I have no idea where they came up with those prices. I have no idea if this is a doable thing. The person behind this is Anthony Diamond. He's got a PhD. Seems like a smart guy. Went to Stanford, went to a bunch of other great universities. Okay. But again, I don't know.
It is cool.
It is cool. So my question is to the community. We can either ignore this and be like, this is just a bunch of CGI, thanks a lot. Or if you guys are interested, if you really think that like for this price point, this would be something you would seriously consider buying for your truck, we can reach out to Anthony and get him on an interview and talk to him. And this would be perfect for our investor club, for disruptive investing. Like, let's see how much experience he has in this space. Is this like Cyberlander, where it sounds like maybe they won't be able to do it? Or I don't know. So I want first you guys in the comments, are you interested at this price point? Do you think it's could be done? And do you want us to interview and reach out to Anthony?
All right.
Let us know.
Let us know.
Well, and thank you. We got to the end of our Patreon bonus stories. That was a lot of stories this week. It takes Jesse and I hours to research and write and edit. I mean, we go through the show and we decide, where to put stories, how to make this show entertaining, thoughtful.
It's like 3 to 4 days from tip to tail in terms of pretty much 5.
Yeah.
In order to make this show work, and I want to thank all of you for helping to support it, because it wouldn't happen. We would have to either make the show shorter or less dense or less editing, or to make a 1 hour show, we have 3 editors who work from the moment we finish recording until it goes out, and that usually is less than a day.
And I got to be honest, there's a lot of stories that we did in the Patreon bonus story that I would like more people to see. But first of all, we can't fit them all in the show. And secondly, I'm like, you know what? You guys are the important people. You guys make this show possible. So I have no qualms with the fact that fewer people see it if you guys get to see it. Right. So thank you for being a part of the show. We really love seeing you every week. Right. And we love your comments, and we love that you're part of our community. So just thank you.
Exactly. I feel like you're the people who showed up to the concert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you
stayed in line. You
paid for your ticket.
It was raining out, but you're still there with your lighter.
Right.
And do they do lighters anymore? No, they do phones.
Phones.
Yeah.
It's phones.
Yeah. It's safer. It's safer. I just dated myself. Sorry. We'll see you guys next
Actually,
week.
People used to smoke. All right. We'll see you next week. Now you know.